A lot less of you have driven a manual car before. Stick shift, or called manual cars, versus automatic cars. They're a little bit different. Manual cars, you need to operate things a little bit differently. In 1950, automatic cars began to enter the market. And at this point, in the United States, manual cars became a little bit more rare, harder to find, and less likely for someone to purchase. So, on the screen now is a section from La Habra Star newspaper, and this was a section published in 1958, and it was a car advertisement section, and it consisted of mostly automatic cars for sale. The first automatic transmission was created in the United States in 1940, and from then on, it became harder and harder to find a manual car. All the red arrows demonstrate every car for sale that was an automatic. So, in 2016, the Zebra stated in their article, Manual versus Automatic, that over 80% of car sales in Europe and Japan are manual cars, contrary to the US, which is around 3%. Sadly, manual cars in the United States are growing less and less popular, which is saddening for car enthusiasts such as myself. Ever since I've had my driver's license, I've driven a manual car, I've worked on my car, I've done a lot of research on cars, and I've even taught my friends how to drive my manual car. Despite automatic cars taking over the automobile industry in the US, there's a lot of benefits in learning how to drive a manual car. It's helpful, it's economical, and it is fun. I will help you understand how to learn to drive a manual in 3 simple steps. Step 1 is understanding what a manual car is. Now, in learning to drive manual, there's 3 main parts of the car you should focus on. The engine, which creates the power of the car so it can move. The power of the car then goes to the transmission, which consists of a bunch of gears. And then from the transmission, the power then goes to the wheels, which spin and allow the car to move forward. Now, there are 2 main differences between driving a manual and driving an automatic. Number 1 is that in a manual car, you have to change gears. Just like a bicycle, cars need gears to make it easier or harder for it to go, and so it can travel at different speeds. Transmissions have these different sized gears in them, just like a traditional bicycle that you would ride, and it allows the car to go at different speeds. And the driver must change these gears in order to drive the car accordingly to how fast they're going. Now, the next difference is the clutch pedal. In a manual car, there is a 3rd pedal on the far left next to the brake, which you control with your left foot. You control the clutch pedal with your left foot, and with your right foot you control the brake pedal and the gas pedal like you would in a normal automatic car. In simple terms, the clutch connects and disconnects the engine from the wheels of the car, but that is not as significant, and we cannot go into too much detail on that. So the next step would be how to drive a manual car. What's the difference in operating a manual car? So in a manual car, you have a gear lever instead of a gear selector, and this has about 5 to 6 gears depending on the car, and also a reverse gear. The driver must move the gear lever according to what gear they want to be in based upon their speed. On the presentation, I put a red dot to show where the gear selector may be. So when you're starting out, you will start out in 1st gear, move to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, depending on how fast you're going. And then you'd also change gears. You can also tell them to change gears of the RPM gauge cluster, which is located on the left side of the screen next to the speedometer. These numbers represent how fast the engine is turning. You need to change gears when the dial approaches the red numbers. So the next main difference is the clutch pedal. There are 3 major times that you use the clutch pedal. When you're stopping the car, when you're starting the car, and when you're changing the gears. In order to start the engine, the clutch must be pushed in, and you want to begin driving, you have the clutch pushed all the way in with your left foot, you slowly let it out, and give it gas at the same time with your right foot until you start moving. And then the next time you use it is when you're shifting gears, which when you're driving down the road, you must Push in the clutch with your left foot, change gears with your right hand, and then let out the clutch again. And then the third time that you use it is when you're stopping, where you simply put in the clutch and use the brake with your right foot just like you would in a normal car. So, how do you put what you've learned into practice? I recommend that you go to an open parking lot, so you eliminate a lot of dangers that would be on the open road. And begin by practicing starting and stopping without stalling the car or killing the engine, which is uncomfortable, not good for the car. When you're comfortable with that, try to begin changing gears. Make sure you're comfortable with doing all of these things before you drive on the road. It may be very difficult at first, and it may become frustrating, but eventually driving a manual car becomes second nature, and it's very fun, and you don't even have to think about it while you're driving. So, in conclusion, I explained the basics of understanding how to drive a stick-shift car. As the New York Daily News claimed in 2013 in their article, driving a stick shift car can be a blast to drive, it can be easier to maintain, it can have better fuel economy, it gives the driver a better sense of control, and they're usually cheaper. If you have the opportunity to drive a stick shift, I recommend that you learn. While it may seem complicated, you'll be able to drive a stick in no time and out on the roads having a good time. Thank you.